All right. Thanks, folks. Microsoft Teams, digital hub for your classroom. Damien.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Tammy. Thanks for being a great facilitator there and connecting with some local friends on this call. And I am excited to be able to chat with all of you and learn together. And earlier we asked a little bit about tell us your comfort level or what you're hoping to learn about or in this session. So we have thank you, Wendy, thank you, Angela, for answering that and just giving a little bit of background because it does help me be able to tailor this a little bit more for you. So as Tammy mentioned, we are talking about Teams and how it is a digital hub for our classroom. If you would like to follow along visually, I know some of us are a bit of a different learner, you can actually go to that link that is displayed right now on the page. It is the PowerPoint that I have just created and provided. So if you want prompts later on after today, or you want to follow along almost in some sort of order, you're more than welcome to take that. I don't plan on deleting it, so that should be available for all of you. So with that being said, Tammy kindly mentioned that this workshop is recorded. So if you are camera shy, feel free to turn off your camera. However, that also means that you can review this at another point in time. So if there was something really great that you found or anything else that you'd like to circle back to, then this recording will be available for you and we will share that out. So my name is Damien. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I am a consultant and I work across Canada with great organizations such as Cobblestone, teaching amazing educators such as yourselves, teaching your students sometimes as well. And I'm very excited to be here. And we also have Tammy.
I'm Tammy. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm joining you from the unceded territory of the Haudenosaunee and Mohawk, colonized today's Montreal. So I'm one of the contractors with Cobblestone Collective. Side gig, my daytime gig is a virtual teacher, year 2, on Teams this year too. So I can jump in with a lot of my my feedback of my experience with that this year. So thanks for learning with us. And I'll be hiding in the chat under Cobblestone Collective, but you can call me Tammy.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Tammy. And I love that you brought up the treaty because I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the lands that we are presenting from today. So I want to acknowledge that I am in the Treaty 13A, which is also known for being the lands of the Mississauga of the Credits people. And it is a very important and unique place for me to be in just because I have a lot of friends and close ones that are Indigenous. So I would like to just acknowledge the lands that we are, the beautiful lands that we are being able to present from today, whether you are on the same treaty or not. And if you would like to learn a little bit more about the lands that you are on, then I would recommend to go to native-land.ca or native-hyperlink-land.ca, and you can find out a little bit more about the lands that you are situated on. So I would very much recommend that. On a thank you note, thank you to Cobblestone Collective for bringing us together today and for allowing us to have this session. So I appreciate it very much, and I hope all of you will appreciate it as well by the end of it. And also a thank you to Microsoft Education Canada for supporting this session because we couldn't have done it without them. So big thank you to all of you. This is today's plan. I'm not going to go into all the details, but essentially we're just going to talk about Teams as a digital hub for yourself. And we're going to talk about some great features, incorporating forms, Whiteboard, and a few of my favorites as well. And lastly, we're going to give you a code at the end of this session. And what you can do with that code is apply it to your education.microsoft profile and be able to get credit for the session you provided us today and for your time. So with that being said, we're going to move on. However, I do just want to point out, if you have any questions, Tammy's here to support you with the chat, and we'll be able to connect you. And also, feel free to jump off mute at any point if you want to add anything as well. So we work great together. And if you do have any questions, let Tammy, let myself know. So with that being said, I'm going to dive right in because I like to practice what I preach. And so this is my office portal right over here. A little note, I am going to be using the online version, the browser version of Teams, just because I know if you're here, you probably have Teams in your board, but not everybody might have the offline version. So this is the most universal version for everyone, and everything I showcase is available to everybody, which is great. So I navigated to portal.office.com. If that's not your preferred way to get to your dashboard, please use whatever method you do. The reason I use portal.office.com is just because it takes me to the exact organizational login, so your school login. So that's why I like to use that. And I'm already signed in. It is in French. I didn't set this. Normally, my pro tip would be if you log into your account and see a massive change like this, I would flag that. I'm not going to do that because I know we have some colleagues as well who are likely presenting the French version or the French presentation on the other end. So that's okay. But this is your portal. It looks the same no matter what language you're using. So you have some of your recent things that you worked on over in the top here in a nice little visual format. And you also have some of the lists of different files or projects that you began over here as well. So this is pretty nice. And then you also have this bar on the left here. And so this bar allows us to quickly jump and navigate to the different tools inside of our Office suite or our Microsoft 365 suite, depending on the terminology you want to use now. But for today's lesson, we are going to go into Teams. We're going to talk about Teams and navigate all into it. So I'm just going to, what I did was I clicked the Teams button on my left panel over here, and it just opened up a brand new tab in my browser. So I have a brand new tab over here. It is picking up where I left off. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Generally, you would start like this. You would load in, and it would be in your Teams grid view. Okay, and if you don't have a grid view, maybe you have a list view. Just as a quick note, you can go to the ellipsis in the top right, go to your settings, and then this is where you can change that in the general tab, in the grid and the list. So grid, fun fact, was actually developed for education before it became part of any other Teams platform or business or industry. So that's a pretty cool fun note. You educators supported this, which is great. So let's talk about Teams as a hub, right? And I define hub as just a place where I can do just about anything and everything in one space, or one at least easy to navigate space. So the three that I'm going to generally cover is located on the left panel over here. So as we kind of just not walk through, but like skim through, we have the activity in the top left. We have our chats, our teams, right, which is where we are now, our assignments and calendar. You might not have calls, right? Calls, it may or may not be there, but calls are potentially in this list, and also our files in the bottom. For today's session, I'm going to focus on the chat, on the team, and on the assignments tabs, okay? And so these are kind of the three hubs that I would like to chat about a little bit and converse about how we can customize this, make this our own, and hopefully make our lives a little bit easier. So let's start with chats, right? And chats are unique because it allows us to have a personal conversation with our peers, our colleagues. It allows us to have conversations potentially with our students privately, right? So if you'd like to get in touch with them or check in or ask if they need any support for homework, anything like that, you can do that through a chat, not through the public class that you have as a team. So this is kind of your one-stop shop for communication with everyone inside of your classroom, inside of your school. So I have here Kara. Right. So Kara, for example, I just have a very one-sided chat. Kara seems to not want to talk with me, but that's okay. So I'm able to find somebody, right? I can create a new message by selecting this icon right over here and type the name of the individual that I want to go ahead and communicate with. So if I were to, I'll just start a new one. I think Alfonso is in here. Yeah, Alfonso, I can select who I want to talk to and then just begin to type my message. And once I start typing my message, boom, conversation started. Because right now we are in a draft, right? So this draft means that we are not sent. So unless I actually send something to initiate that conversation, it does not exist. So With Kara, I had already a pre-created conversation just because we chatted a little bit. Notice my draft went away. So if I didn't send anything, that does not count as a communication. And I'm chatting with Kara. One unique thing is we can file share with each other. So if I'm working, maybe Tammy and myself, we're working together, we're planning for this presentation, right? What if I wanted to share with Tammy the presentation I'm working on so we can collaborate or we can work together? Then essentially, all I would need to do is send it in this format. So I would go to this paperclip at the bottom. I would select that, and I can either choose from my OneDrive, which takes it directly from my cloud storage center, right? My data container for my Teams account, or I can just upload it from my computer. So I'm mentioning Tammy. It's right now Kara, but if I upload from my computer, I can see what I have here. Let's see. I'll just do this in progress for now. That's okay. Oh, so just because I saved it in a unique way, maybe I'll share this Dragon Professional cheat sheet. Cool. Okay, so if I wanted to share this PDF, for example, it's a PDF, so we can't edit. But if I wanted to share this document, all I need to do is upload it. There we go. I can add a nice message. Check it out. This great resource. And I click send. And just like that, we have sent and shared this document. Now, if you have a very consistent communication with your individual, and you might have back and forth conversations or communications or anything like that, this right here might get lost, right? As it gets moved and pushed a little bit to the top and as more items begin to pile in. So a very unique way and easy way that we can find this again is through our files tab in the top. So when I select files, there we go. I can see my Dragon Professional cheat sheet over here, which is great. So if I ever needed to go back here or refer to it, I can just click that and I am back in business. Now, what's great is I can once more open this document from within Teams. I haven't left the actual application yet. No, this is how we're maintaining a hub, right? It's being able to incorporate all these things in one kind of user experience. So I have this document talking about accessibility features. It seemed I was using Dictate earlier, and I can go ahead, jump in, and start adding to this. So maybe if I wanted to do today's date, which is 30th of November, I love accessibility. Right? I can go ahead and do that. Now, should Kara, or if I was with working with Tammy or any one of you, should one of you be online, a little icon would appear beside the new conversation, signaling that they're actually inside the document and collaborating with you. So you can co-edit a document at the same time with another individual, and then still be able to refer to those changes or use that that specific piece of document. So that's pretty neat. And once, like I said, I'm still in Teams. So once I'm done, I can just click close, and I go right back to where I started into my files right over here. And just like that, we just went on a little almost roundabout journey to end up right to the area that we are. Inside of our chats as well is the ability to create these group chats, right? So I am able to go ahead and select, or I'll showcase what this group chat means. So group chat is basically, first, I have multiple people in one chat. And so the way that I can do that is if I can either from the start conversation menu, add everybody at once. So if I went back to Alfonso, Al was in there, and maybe I want to do Alex as well. I just saw the name pop up. I can start a brand new conversation from the get-go and create that right here and start chatting with everybody. I can also upgrade an existing chat. So let me just start one with, I'm just trying to think, Adele. I believe that's a student of mine. Perfect. Just checking in with you. Do you need any support? So I'm going to start this conversation with Adele. Now, if at any point we are upgrading this conversation. Maybe we want to create, if this is your flow, create like a group chat for Adele and another student, or bring in someone else. In the top right corner, underneath our profile, we have this add people toggle. So I can go ahead and select that and just add in whoever else I want. So maybe I'm going to bring in Al. I'm going to click add. And now it's starting this conversation as a group. So it's respecting your previous conversation with Adele, because we don't want to dilute it. That's still a conversation between yourself and someone else. And instead, it has now created a new conversation here. Now, additionally, what might sometimes happen is if you add someone into this group chat, you also have the option directly to include the chat history. So if you don't want to include it in chat history, if you want to include only specific days, maybe that's all that was relevant to them, or if someone new is joining in, or just all the chat history as well, you're able to select that and then click add and move forward. So that's another way that you can kind of visualize that, hopefully, and observe. So one more thing while we're in here, before I move on to the next kind of aspect, is if we're in a group chat, right, and we're communicating a lot, we have all of our phenomenal, documents, right? And we're sharing all these things and collaborating. As we mentioned with the documents, it can get lost, right? It can get a little bit difficult to find where we left everything. On top of that, it might be difficult to sometimes reach out to a person, right? I'm sure many of us, if not most of us, are in some sort of group chat on any platform, right? Maybe it's like a family group chat or anything. It doesn't matter what platform you're using. I find personally, at least, that I tend to skimp over a lot of information unless I'm directly required to look at it, or if someone's asking me, to get my opinion. So the way we can do that similarly inside of Teams chats is by using the @ mention. So I just need to use the @. It will select all the individuals inside of this conversation. I can maybe select Patty in this instance, and then I can type out my message. So, did you get my email? And there we are. And so whenever Patty either logs in, Patty will be able to see that I mentioned her through a little notification, and also will get a notification on their device that they're being called, they're being requested, their presence is required. So this is kind of the way that we can create these one-on-one chats and these personal conversations, interpersonal conversations and relationships through this hub, through this digital hub. Now, I'm going to skip over Teams a little bit. We're going to conclude with that. And I'm actually going to navigate over to the assignments. So before I navigate over, I just want to check in with everybody. Are there any questions or anything like that? I want to make sure that everyone is feeling all right. I know we have a few varying different levels of individuals. So let me know. I will be honest. I always use these to get a little water break. So this is kind of my secret with all of us, right? But let me know if there's any questions. If not, we'll just keep on moving on.
I'm just going to say take a sip, because there's no questions in the chat yet. I know I use the chat with my students often to, if I'm not calling them into class, because it's, we're a couple of minutes past the hour of starting up, I always like, will you be joining us today? And I always use that @ mention so that if they're near their device, it'll ping on their side. So they're like, oh, need to get to class. Charlene actually asked all of the icons on the bottom. I'm curious about the one to the right of praise and to the left of the math one. That looks like a page.
This one here, or
yeah,
that's Viva Learning. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about that in the team section. So I'll go over some of those functions there. That's really new too. I just discovered it. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Great question. Okay, cool. So let's move on with assignments. So assignments now inside of our panel on the left over here have a brand new look, right? Teams got updated over the summer for the brand new year. And so it has a bit of a different look than what you might be used to, but essentially it puts everything into one spot. So on the conversation of creating a hub, we also are on the conversation of creating ease of access for us as educators, for us as teachers, or even as students. So as an educator, we have the ability to have or observe all of our projects, all of our assignments, all in one easy to read spot. So I can see previously created, or historical, essentially overview of everything I've created. I can also, if I wanted to select one of them, I will be able to click it. It will open up that actual specific assignment page, and it will give me another overview of who's yet to return, who has returned it so far already, and I can still dive back in and look at their work once more if I so chose. So that's kind of great. This is reading progress, by the way. Really great stuff. If there's time, I can talk about it, but if you're interested, let us know, because it's great and we can do a session all about it. So this is kind of your hub for assignments. Now you can also see the return. So instead of me having to dive in to a specific assignment, I can just get an overview as well of all the officially concluded assignments that have been done. And maybe I've created something, right? Maybe I started creating an assignment that I've yet to finish, or I just want to make sure that my progress isn't lost, essentially. This is where I can see and find and locate those drafts as well. So it provides us, again, with that overview over all of our classes, or maybe even specific classes as well, because we can filter. So if you're teaching multiple classes this year, and that might be a little bit overwhelming to view everything, you have to plan for all of them, then you can also filter by only one specific class. For example, from here, I also like to, I'm just gonna clear that filter right now. From here, you're also able to create a brand new assignment or quiz. So this bottom left create option, I have 3 essentially prompts here. I have 1 assignment, 2 quiz, and 3rd from existing. Note that the assignment and quiz are pretty, they work essentially the same way in terms of the creation. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. And from existing is part of the process of creating an assignment and quiz as well. So what's unique about the from existing is if you know you already have a template created and you're just making another one for next week's or a parallel class, then you can just select that from existing, assign it to the appropriate classroom, and then you're ready to go. For today's example, I'm going to create a quiz. And so I am able to select which class is receiving this quiz. So I'm going to go accessibility. I'm by the way, I'm doing a certificate program. I'm a student right now. So for applied learning disability studies. So a lot of my examples are going to be accessibility related. But I am now, remember how I mentioned it will turn up the pulling from an existing quiz or existing assignment. This is how it would look like. So as I'm navigating through, it is pulling up all of my pre-created or already generated quizzes or tests that I've made, and it's recommending them. So I can, for example, if this was already created, I'm going to do a title quiz just to provide an example. If I wanted to select this because the general format was good, but I just wanted to make a few tweaks, I would select it, and I know this by that check mark. Navigate over to the next, and this is what it looks like when you're creating a new assignment. So that might be a little bit confusing, but what is important to know is when you have this quiz uploaded or included here, that is the testing material. So I can click on that and see, in this case, I don't have much completed here, but if I like the format and I just wanted to tweak a couple things, I can still navigate and add maybe a new question or change the question from semester or anything like that if it's the same class. So I can still edit pre-created or previously created forms and assessments. So that's why it would be pretty helpful and unique for me. I'm going to discard this. I'm just going to create one from scratch. So I'm going to create a brand new quiz over here, and let's do new quiz. And I'm just going to quickly label this. So let's do accessibility. And that is my title. So I'm going to add a new question now. So let's do a multiple choice. Okay, the question will be, which company did Microsoft recently purchase? So maybe option 1 will be text help if anybody knows read and write or equatio. Next one will be nuance. So if anybody knows dragon. And lastly, off the top of my head, I'm just trying to think. Let's do Meister. All right. So I have my first thing there. So once I'm done, I can do multiple answers if I wanted to. So if this question required multiple answers, I can toggle that. I can also ensure that this is a required question, which means that all of it has to be answered, right? It needs to be answered, and that is demonstrated by this asterisk over here. And I can also preview. So once I'm content with this quiz, for example, I can go ahead and preview it to see what it looks like if my student was accessing it from a computer. And so this is what it would look like, or from a mobile device. And so if they were on their mobile device, this is how it would look like as well. A unique thing, we're not going to dive into it today, unfortunately, but if you've heard of an immersive reader, that is also found in here. So immersive reader is a great and phenomenal tool for our learners or anyone who may be struggling or learning to read. So that it's a phenomenal tool. I usually go into it all the time, but for the sake of time today, we can't. And that is and that's included here. So we're going to go back. Maybe we can select a theme if we wanted to, just a simple theme. I'm still good with that. And I think that's it. I think we're good. So I'm going to click done. And now this is my quiz right over here. My title is accessibility. Maybe I'll write quiz just to make it a little bit more informative and have my students expect that. And as I navigate down, I am saying I'm assigning it to accessibility studies. So this is my class. Okay, so I'm able to select which class. So I can actually change it from here if I wanted to. So I have it set for that class and also which students. So these are some newer functions as well. So I can apply it to the entire class or to just a selector or a predetermined group or individual students as well, right? If they want extra learning or if it's a specific group project and you just change the topics for everybody. My due date is right over here. So I can go ahead and select that, change that to anywhere I want it to go. Maybe I wanted to do it on December 3rd and the time that it's due as well. So let's keep it within school hours potentially and do 4 p.m. And lastly, I have also the option to add this assignment to the calendars of my students and already kind of assist them in that executive functioning and to assist them in that planning ahead of time. So it will automatically pop up in their calendars, whether it's their Outlook, whether it's their Teams as a due date, and then they have that prompt as well that would be showing up. So these are the options as well, or I can just do students and myself and also include the other team owners should I so decide to choose that. And once we're good, I can go ahead and click assign. And there we go. We just created our first quiz together. So when I select it, I see who needs to, who needs to complete it, all my students, who has returned it yet, no one yet, and any feedback if I need to. And then once everyone's concluded, here's my summary. And I can look at my summary and it will create the form and I can see exactly who answered or how many people answered which form or in which question, which is great because now if, for example, everyone got one question wrong, unfortunately, then I know, okay, well, maybe we need to relearn that concept or get a little bit of an overview within our content. All right, so that was assignments. And
I'm going to just slow you down, Damien. We have a couple questions. So Andrea had some connectivity issues with her phone. The one thing I would probably also just highlight in assignments is if you're somebody like me who likes working late at night or early morning, depending what time it is, you can actually schedule your assignments to post at a specific time, which is really handy because that way your students aren't getting pinged in the middle of the night or like super late at night when they should be sleeping. So that's one thing that you can go in when you are creating the last piece where you're assigning the date. There's an edit piece where you can post it at a specific time. Then Andrea asks about in our board, in their board, they only use Teams with teachers. I don't see assignments at all. One issue we do have, if we use Teams for a video meeting, everyone has access to the chat even when they are no longer in the video meeting. Is there a way to change this? So there, I'm like constructing my answer, and I'm pretty sure I think I know it, but I'm gonna let Damien go ahead and just pat myself on the back if I'm right. Go ahead.
So yeah, I'm just going to read this question again. So in our board, we only use Teams with teachers. I don't see assignments at all. One issue we do have, if we use Teams for a video meeting, everyone has access to the chat, even when they are no longer in the video meeting. Is there a way to change this? I believe, just deviating a little bit, if we go into one of our calls here, class check-in, let's do this one. Let's edit it. And we go into the meeting options. I just need to wait for it to pop up. Let's just see who can bypass allow callers. Am I doing it right, Tammy? Is this where you're looking at, or did I miss it there?
I'm wondering if her staff team was set up as a PLC and not as a class, which is why you don't have assignments. That's my answer.
Actually, yeah.
To it. I think that's probably what it is. If it was set up as outside of a classroom, which is why you have limitations on the assignments or calendar piece. So when you go to create a team, it might be staff instead of a class, which is why you may not have assignments.
Yeah, that's great. My mind was jumping way earlier, so thanks for grounding me there, Tammy. That's definitely a good point. So maybe checking in to see which team or which type of class that is or team. Okay, awesome. So
and then to be able to leave a chat. So Andrea, if you go in to create a team, when you go back to your teams, and if you're able to, it depends on how the admin side has set it up, whether you're allowed to create a team. But I'm going to let Damien take over because I might be way off.
No, that is true, right? So generally, when we're looking at who can create a team, that is usually an IT backend. So maybe they have a system that they're creating the teams and assigning them or anything like that. So best bet I think would be to try to communicate with someone on that team in order to do that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I could have given a better news here.
And then to leave a chat, there's a door with a running person, and it's just you can leave it.
Yeah, right here. So inside of our chat, I selected the add participants icon, and then I can just leave this chat as well. So that's the door. Cool. Any other questions, Tammy, that I might be missing, or?
I think. Oh, can we help? I'm going to type back to Andrea. Andrea, I'm going to type back to you, and then I'll let Damien continue.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start moving on to the last component of creating teams as our hub, and that is the core function of teams, and it's teams. So inside of the three that we were talking about, we first talked about chat, we then talked about assignments. We're inside of teams now. So navigating back to our essentially landing page or landing screen where we have all of our classes that we're a part of, I'm going to navigate over to my team, my accessibility studies over here. I can see my notification that I just created a new assignment, or sorry, a new quiz, which is great. And now that we are inside of Teams, just as a little overview and an info session is that there used to be a ton of tabs at the top. That's all shifted here. So class notebook, you also have an assignments tab for this specific class, which is located right here. You can look at your grades and also insights. Talk about insights in a moment. And underneath this line, this almost barely visible line, is our channels. So we have all the different channels associated with our team. Every team that is created starts with a general channel. And that general channel has a main communication thread, or almost like a bulletin board, which is this main screen over here, this reading pane that we see. So it posts updates, right, such as the assignments that we created. It can be a place where you can make posts or discussion threads or announcements. Talk about announcements in a moment. So all of that is located in this panel right over here. So this is kind of what an announcement looks like. And as people begin engaging and utilizing it, it would become more and more filled or potentially leveraged. So in order to break that down a little bit, in a nutshell, you would create channels to your preference, right? And so channels could be, for example, public or private. And in public, it can be different topics. It can be maybe a homework where only the homework gets posted in there. It could be specific group projects, which can then be locked. There's this kind of lock symbol, which indicates it's a private channel. So that means only a select few individuals can access that, whoever is inside of there. So being able to engage this hub and create everything in one spot is the ability to create announcements. So I'm going to start a brand new conversation, and I'm gonna tie in a few of the things that I think Charlene, you asked a question about some of these things at the bottom here. But essentially, when I'm starting a new conversation, I can, if I just start typing and post. All right, I made a spelling mistake. I don't like that. But notice the way that this gets posted, right? It's a very what's the best word? Not distant. It's a very soft communication, right? It blends in very well with everything else, and it doesn't stand out too much. So I didn't like that. I can click on my ellipsis, and that ellipsis pops up when I hover my cursor over the blocked or specific chat here. So I'm going to select the ellipsis and go ahead and delete that. Let's go back and try to start a new conversation. Now, these functions at the bottom all serve a purpose, right? The first one, the bottom left, allows us to change the format. A cool, I guess, little pro tip is when you don't have this format selected, maybe you notice when I typed it and clicked enter, it posted my discussion, right? Once I'm in the format, enter doesn't automatically post. So even if you potentially just want, a safe space to be able to create your conversation or have that edit, leeway, then entering that format will be able to do that as well. Now, over here, where it says new conversation, if I choose that, I can select it to be an announcement. And so now what that does is it creates this kind of banner, right, where I can type in a headline. So maybe enjoy your Christmas break, as it's. I'll change that. Actually, this is pretty. Maybe this. Yeah, that's festive. Great. So I can go ahead. I can change that. If I want to add a subheading, that is okay. And I'll type in my announcement as well. So thank you for the great semester. Enjoy your holidays. So there we go. I created an announcement. And when I go ahead and send that, this is how it looks like. So a vastly different feel and look than the previous message that we sent out as well. And everyone can reply to this. So if I wanted to go ahead, thanks again, send that away. And it now becomes a thread, right? So we thread under this conversation. So you're not posting just multiple times and students who post in, it creates kind of this backlog. Everything can be contained within one post. The paperclip offers an ability to upload documents from your different data containers, which includes your cloud containers, such as OneDrive, other teams and channels, or just from your computer. And some of these might not be available, by the way, depending on your team settings. So if you didn't create your team, or if you're not the owner of the team and certain features are turned off, some of these might not be actually present. And that's okay. It really just depends, right? Like GIFs, I think, are usually the first thing that get turned off for a lot of classes. And we have the ability to add a calendar option, but navigating over this Viva Learning, what is that? It is actually a connection to LinkedIn Learning. So we might have, if you use LinkedIn, that's awesome. And if you use the premium LinkedIn, that's awesome. And you might have noticed that a career coach was added last year, I believe. So helping students and allowing them to build resumes and construct things if it was toggled on for your school. So Viva Learning essentially is the ability to, if I wanted to go ahead and do, let's just do science. I'll just type in science. It will scan the different LinkedIn Learning courses and then offer them or promote them to me. And so from there, 12 minutes about data science, I can select that. Where is it? It didn't show up, but actually, maybe formatting.
Are you able to set that up? Daksha asks if you're able to set it up to have a spell check option. Like, will you ever have the red squiggly line?
Oh, inside of Teams?
Well, I know yeah. So like as you reply. Yeah, there it goes.
Yep, it should automatically. So it lets you know that there is an error. To my knowledge, it doesn't kind of in Word, it doesn't like prompt what the solution might be there, but it will let you know if there's like a spelling error or something like that.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, and so that's the Viva Learning, right? So there we go. We just were able to share that directly. We can click into that inside of Teams again, being inside of our hub. I'm able to now access these courses and walk through it and consume that course, which is pretty cool. It was a little sidetrack, but I just recently learned that they just added it like recently, so it's great that I was able to share that. One thing as well, leveraging back or circling back into forms is this form over here, right? That's available. It's not built in actually right here. But what will happen is if I select that, and what I did was I hit new conversation. I went to my ellipsis at the right side over there, and I'm going to select the ellipsis. I can see forms. If forms doesn't show up, try searching for it as well, and you might be able to find that. But by doing this, I'm able to start engaging my students through polls, right? So I can start having that kind of engagement piece and ability to ask them those questions, or any questions through the way of a poll, right? So did you complete your homework? And it could be simple. Add all. So I have the suggested option. Yeah, let's add a yes and no. Simple as that, and I can go ahead and save that. And so once I save it, I can go ahead and preview. If it looks good, I will go ahead and click send, and we created quickly a poll for our class to be able to answer. So just like that, we're able to start engaging and interacting with our students for their preferences. Now, additionally, with this bottom pane over here is the ability to send a praise. So I love praise because I think it is amazing to give recognition where recognition is due and to help promote students to being the better versions of themselves. So when I select that praise, and it essentially just looks like this ribbon that you get at like a track and field meet or something, but you have this praise option. So I can select one of these general topics, right? So let's go back to inclusive. I can find, or I'm obviously doing it for somebody, right? So let's say, I think Sophia here, no, Alex. Yeah. All right. So let's say Alex did a great job. Actually, I think I did Alex before. This is just me being difficult. So let's do Adele this time, and I can add a note, right? So thank you to Adele for helping out a classmate with their dragon, or sorry, with their narrator. Awesome. So I've typed up my message. I've selected who the individual is. I want to preview that, and this is what it looks like. So it will tell me, I, as a teacher or as the educator, I am praising this individual for their ability to go above and beyond in this specific way. I click send, and just like that, it gets populated for everybody to see. Now, if the student is shy or doesn't maybe want to be, or publicly broadcasted or put on the spotlight, you can also send that praise inside personal messages. All right, so it is just right over here as well. So you're able to send personal praise to an individual if maybe they're not comfortable in this, having it like this. Lastly, that I want to talk about these features at the bottom over here is the ability to open up our reflect tool. So reflections, again, and creating that hub, creating a safe space for our students, reflections allow us to be able to check in with our class. So we have these abilities, or we have these pre-created prompts or questions that we can ask. So maybe, how are you feeling today or this week? And I can set the privacy with either I, as an educator, can see the names and reflections of students, or their own reflections, but classmates can't see other students' names. Or as an educator, I can still see the names and reflections, but classmates won't see anything. So they'll just be able to answer that kind of in an incognito mode, if you will. So I would select that, maybe how long I want to do it. Maybe I want to select this as an ability to do it 5 minutes at the beginning of every class. And it's very simple, right? We just choose our emoji and be able to send that out to our students. And so this way, our students have the ability to communicate without necessarily communicating, to be able to speak and share their emotions, their thoughts, their feelings, but in a way that it might not seem impactful to them, but it helps us as a teacher, creating that emotional awareness and helping out and knowing that might require some help. So I love the ability of having the reflect tool in here. I'm just going to quickly shift to the PowerPoint, and then we'll go right back here. Let me see, maybe not. There we go. What it looks like on the back end. This is everything you can see. That Insights tab, right? That we showcased earlier. This is how us as an educator can see the insights of this reflect tool, right? So we're able to see, on a daily, who is feeling happy, sad, lonely, who's doing it more often, right? If they're generally feeling sad, or if there's prompts. So it's great to be able to do that within a certain time period and be able to wholly focus on our students. All right, the last thing that I want to talk about today, which is I think it's a great embedded feature to be able to continue promoting our digital hub as teams, is the ability to use Whiteboard. And so Whiteboard is phenomenal. If you've never heard of Whiteboard, you're about to. So inside of my channel, I'm going to go to Teacher's Corner. You can do this anywhere. You can do this in a general channel if you so chose. You can do this inside of a call, inside of a meeting. But I'm going to select this Teacher's Corner, and at the top here, where the tab is, maybe because I want to, for the time being, make this whiteboard very easily accessible for everybody, right? Because when I pin it to the top, it will always remain at the top until it's unpinned or removed. So I'm going to select that plus button. Not all of these apps might be available for everybody, but essentially I'm going to see Whiteboard.
Damien, can we just pause before we dive into Whiteboard?
Sure.
Charlene had a great question about when you add all the tools in the chat, are they available just within that team, or are they available at your domain login wherever you go throughout Teams?
That's a great question. So that's great. So it would be for this class, right? And what we're able to notice is that this option to add the reflection, for example, is only in the general tab, right? So it's available for everybody. If I go into my Teacher's Corner, it's not available, right? It's just it's a subset. So you're not getting personalized or individualized insights or reflections from each channel. You're getting it from the class as a whole when you post it in here in this specific class. I hope that answered it.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Oh, great question. I love it. Okay. If there's no more questions, then let's circle back to Whiteboard. So Whiteboard, when I click on that add a tab, I'm going to select Whiteboard. Maybe I don't want to notify the whole channel about it. It's going to be a very silent edition, or maybe I do, right? And that's where we want to collaborate and brainstorm. So I can name my whiteboard. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe change it to brainstorming. And I'm going to click save. And inside, as a little background, my Teacher's Corner that I've created here, I only have teachers, right? So that means that anybody anybody that's not in this channel can't see this, right? And so I have two options here. I can only present the whiteboard, therefore only I'm the one that I can edit, or I can leave it as a collaboration and have everybody be able to jump in, add their thoughts, put ideas together. And Whiteboard has changed. So if you have used Whiteboard before, it updated, I think in September. So it has changed. This is the new look. This is the new format for it. And in a nutshell, right, we can select our pens. So if I wanted to create this black pen, and if I clicked it once more, I can change the thickness of it, or the color as well, if I so chose, and wanted to personalize a little bit. So I can do that. I can also erase. So as an example, if I went and typed in brainstorming, yay. So I can go ahead and be able to type that in. I know it's with the mouse, right? But if you have a touch screen and you have a pen, you can go ahead and use that pen input as well, or maybe just use it as a simple place to type things out. And so with Whiteboard, we are able to add in specific notes, so little sticky notes or grids, right? So if we wanted to, for example, maybe make sure that everyone has a sticky note or a way to collaborate at one spot, and they're able to do that. And when I select each item, then I can edit it, right? The text within it, I can edit or choose the colors. Maybe I want to individualize different ones and kind of assign colors to different people, or ultimately I can just select the entire thing and delete it if that wasn't an option or we made a mistake. And inserting that as well, I can right click on my mouse to bring up the same level, right? Or bring up that same effect, adding notes, adding text, pasting it, anything like that. And then additionally, I can add in, as we mentioned, text. So if I typed in, let's brainstorm, and just like that, I can go ahead and move it, right? Because as a whiteboard, it allows us to be able to customize and change the view of this completely. So just because you put something in one spot doesn't necessarily mean it's there forever. It's always being able to be maneuvered and customized for your specific needs and preferences. The plus sign is where I open up that menu, by the way. So when I click X, and maybe get scared a little bit, like, where'd everything go? It would be in that create button over here. But before, I can go into all these great little reactions, right, and be able to be like, oh, that's great. But what I wanted to really showcase is the templates. So when I open up these templates, I have all of these different topics that I can select from. So granted that this is a brainstorming whiteboard that I'm using to collaborate with other teachers, I'm going to select brainstorm. And oh, yeah, there we go. And so basically, I am opening it up. I don't know who's collaborating in here. That's great. And I'm going to maybe do this affinity diagram. And so I'm now going to select, and notice actually, whoever's conveniently, maybe this is Tammy, and I can't see right now, but yeah, they caught red-handed. But now, because there's already content inside of this whiteboard, it's letting me almost pick and choose the size and where I want to place it relative to the content, right? So it's not automatically going ahead and blocking out everything that Tammy placed there. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm now going to zoom in. We got Tammy collaborating in the bottom there. I love it. This is great. And so now
it's not me though. I think it's our simultaneous French partners, because c'est en français. Yeah, Paris. So I'm gonna think it's Alex.
This is awesome. That's great. Sorry, when you put your hands up, I thought you were like, "Oh, I got caught."
No, hands up, meaning not me. My hands aren't doing anything.
That's so funny. I love it. So anyway, this is how live collaboration looks like, which I didn't plan. You can tell this is and not improvised, but it's happening live, which is phenomenal. And this is kind of the reactions that you want inside of your hub. So once we have this brainstorming template out, I'm able to go ahead and change that to maybe this is Damien's section, right? And only I'm going to collaborate and brainstorm ideas here and so forth. So that's That's whiteboard. There's so much more to unpack here, and I understand that we're with an hour. There's only so much that we can share here, but I hope the goal of this lesson was to help stimulate your minds a little bit and help you realize the potential and the ability for this hub as or this for teams as a hub to be able to consolidate all of your teaching and learning in one spot. So with that being said, let's see. I gotta move that down. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I promised a code in the beginning, and this is the code. So you're able to navigate over to education.microsoft.com. And what that is, if you've never heard of it before, is a global website, a global resource for educators such as yourselves to be able to learn a variety of different Microsoft tools and topics, and also catch up with it, and also redeem these codes. So if you continue to be a part of Cobblestone's lessons or continue to join and interact with us, then that's great, because essentially what we're going to be able to do is give you these codes. You can input it into your profile and you get recognition for the time that you spent, right? And that's great because you can take it with you to other maybe opportunities. You can log the hours that each badge would take. So this is all for you, which is amazing. But thank you all so much for your time here. I will leave a few minutes for questions just in case anyone had it. If you do have some time, we would love to hear your feedback for how the session went. So we're able to, or hopefully if you can spend a minute to just navigate over to that cobblestonecollective.ca/feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Helps me tailor in the future how I present, what I present. But also, if you have any support or help, I know Tammy was doing an amazing job in the back end, being able to answer some questions and facilitate some conversation. But if you have more questions and want more support, Cobblestone's here for you. As the name implies, we are a collective of minds together. So if you email that address, some of us, one of us, will collaborate and get that answer back to you. So thank you. Tammy, do you have any last words or any questions maybe that you found in the chat?
I just wanted to know if Greta wanted to know more, because she asked about how is it similar. Well, she asked for an opinion on like Google Classroom or Teams, and it was really for the assignments piece. I would really say it's similar. Like once you understand the workflow, it's pretty similar in the like can view, can edit, can collaborate. It's just knowing where those, hidden in the ellipses that I always call wait, there's more wherever I see them. Always like dig in and get curious for that. And make sure that if you're constructing something on your own on your desktop, to always save it as a docx so that it will be easy to use in assignments. But yeah, and the one thing that I love about assignments is the ability to tag your assignments. So to add that tag to your assignments, and it makes for easier searching later, and just to categorize all of your work in a different way. And that's a feature that's unique to Teams that isn't available in other LMSs. So it's a piece that I really enjoy a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for your input, Tammy. Absolutely. I think there was a question for what is the Met code. I put it up on the screen again, so hopefully you have time to keep that. I'll just leave it up here for the remainder of the session, just in case. But thank you, everyone, again. If you have any questions, let us know. I don't mind staying a little bit over. I know it's time. Otherwise, I appreciate all of you for being here, and I hope to see you soon.